The rumors told me that nestled deep within the heart of an uncharted forest lies a realm untouched by time, a place where the trees stand tall and imposing, their branches forming a natural barrier against the intrusion of light. It's a forest that seems to defy the laws of nature, where the very air is heavy with mystery, and the ground is carpeted with fallen leaves that crackle underfoot. In hushed whispers, the locals speak of a man who entered this forest with no intention of staying lost. He was an adventurer, a seeker of the unknown, drawn by the allure of an untouched world waiting to be explored. Armed with a map, a compass, and a heart full of determination, he set out on a journey that would etch his name into the annals of the forest's dark history. As he ventured deeper into the thicket, the dense foliage seemed to close in around him, obscuring the path he had so carefully plotted. The sunlight waned and the air grew colder, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. The man's steps became unsure, his confidence waning with every passing moment. The rumors told me that it was the forest itself that conspired against him. Twisted roots seemed to shift beneath his feet, leading him astray. The towering trees seemed to rearrange their positions, distorting his sense of direction. And the once familiar landmarks he had marked on his map became unrecognizable, as if the forest itself was toying with his mind. As night fell, the forest's true nature emerged. Eerie sounds echoed through the air, rustlings, whispers, and the distant howls of creatures unseen. Shadows danced on the periphery of his vision, taunting him with their elusive forms. The man's heart raced as the moon's feeble glow struggled to pierce the thick canopy above. In the midst of this growing unease, the rumors told me that the man's own thoughts began to turn against him. Doubt crept into his mind like a venom, eroding his certainty and replacing it with fear. Every rustle of leaves sounded like approaching footsteps, every flicker of movement like the glimpse of something watching from the shadows. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, a relentless cycle of confusion and isolation. The rumors told me that the man's cries for help were met with a haunting silence, a silence that seemed to stretch on forever. His supplies dwindled, his energy waned, and his hope began to fade like the daylight. The rumors whispered that the forest had claimed him, body and soul. He became a part of its fabric, a lost spirit forever entwined with its mysteries. His fate serves as a chilling reminder to all who hear the tales, that some places are not meant to be explored, some journeys are best left untraveled, and some forests hold secrets that should never be unveiled. It had started as a simple hike, a way to escape the chaos of the city and reconnect with nature. But the tranquility I had sought was quickly replaced by an overwhelming sense of isolation. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch like skeletal fingers across my path. With the fading light, panic began to set in. I pulled out my phone, desperate for a signal, but the screen remained stubbornly blank. The forest silence was broken only by the soft rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. My heart raced as I realized that the trail I had followed was nowhere to be found. Hours turned into a seemingly endless night. I trudged through the underbrush, my senses on high alert. Every snap of a twig, every gust of wind seemed to carry with it the presence of something unseen. My flashlight's beam cut through the darkness, revealing gnarled tree trunks and twisted roots that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers. As exhaustion set in, I found a small clearing and huddled beneath a tree, its branches offering a meager shield against the encroaching cold. The forest's symphony of sounds intensified, the hushed whispers of leaves, the distant scurrying of creatures, each noise a reminder that I was not alone in this wilderness. Sleep was fitful, my dreams haunted by visions of shadowy figures that danced just beyond the edge of my vision. When dawn finally broke, its feeble light revealed a landscape transformed. The once familiar forest had become a maze of uncertainty, and I realized the gravity of my situation. Days turned into nights as I fought to survive. I drank from streams and foraged for sustenance, my instincts sharpened by the harsh reality of my circumstances. Each moment was a battle against the elements, against the darkness that threatened to consume me. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm me, a newfound determination emerged. I clung to hope like a lifeline, my will to live becoming a fierce driving force. I navigated by the sun's position, marking my progress with crude carvings on tree trunks. Slowly but surely I began to make my way back to civilization. Finally, After what felt like an eternity, I stumbled upon a familiar trailhead. Relief washed over me as I emerged from the haunting wilderness that had held me captive. I had nearly become a permanent resident of that unforgiving realm, a nameless soul lost to the forest's depths. As I emerged from the trees, I turned to cast a final glance at the forest that had tested me to my limits. Its shadows seemed to whisper secrets, carrying with them the memory of my struggle. I walked away with a newfound appreciation for life, a deep-seated understanding that sometimes survival is not just a physical battle, but a test of the strength that lies within. The forest around me was a symphony of rustling leaves and distant calls of creatures hidden within the shadows. My heart pounded in my chest, a steady reminder of the fear that gripped me. I stumbled through the underbrush, my breath coming in ragged gasps, as the trees seemed to close in, their branches forming an impenetrable wall of darkness. It had started as an afternoon hike, a desire to lose myself in the tranquility of nature. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the once familiar trails transformed into a maze of uncertainty. Panic bubbled within me, threatening to overwhelm my senses, as I realized that I was utterly and helplessly lost. A soft rustling behind me sent a shiver down my spine. I turned, my flashlight's beam cutting through the darkness. At first, there was nothing but the swaying of trees. But then, from the shadows emerged a creature unlike anything I had ever seen. Tall and hunched, its long limbs reached out like twisted branches. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, fixated on me with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. The air seemed to thicken with malevolence, and every instinct screamed at me to run. I turned and sprinted through the forest, my heart racing as I heard the creature's heavy footsteps behind me. Its long fingers brushed against the leaves, its nails scraping against bark as it closed in. Fear surged through me, a primal instinct to survive overriding everything else. The trees seemed to blur together as I ran, my breath coming in desperate gasps. The forest's labyrinthine paths twisted and turned, the very ground beneath me a treacherous obstacle course. The creature's presence was a constant weight on my back, a haunting reminder that it was never far behind. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I spotted a faint glimmer of moonlight ahead. The edge of the forest was within reach, a promise of escape from the nightmare that pursued me. With a burst of energy, I pushed myself forward, the creature's ragged breaths echoing in my ears. As I burst through the trees and into the clearing beyond, I felt a rush of relief flood over me. The moon's glow illuminated the open space, casting long shadows that seemed to hold the forest's secrets. I stumbled to a halt, turning to face the darkness, my heart still racing with fear. But the creature was gone, swallowed by the shadows from which it had emerged. The forest's silence returned, broken only by the sound of my own labored breathing. I stood there, chest heaving, a mixture of terror and awe washing over me. The forest nightmare had pursued me, its presence a chilling reminder of the unknown horrors that lurk within the wild. But I had escaped its clutches, emerging from the darkness with a renewed sense of appreciation for life, and a deep-seated understanding that sometimes survival demands facing our deepest fears head-on.